One of the most common things that I see getting snuck into influencer contracts every single day is a term called perpetual usage, and this term can be detrimental to having in your creator contracts. Realistically, being attached to anything on the internet forever is really scary, especially when you don't have the option to revoke that access. So understanding what perpetual usage rights are can be so important for content creators. In this video, we'll be going over what are perpetual usage rights and why can they be damaging for creators, why you should be negotiating these out of your creator contracts, and exactly what you should be saying to brands to do so. Plus, I know how difficult it is to navigate brand partnerships, especially when it comes to money and rates. So at the end of this video, I'm going to share with you exactly what I charge for Instagram content creation. Don't forget, timestamps are below, and let's get right into it. So what the heck actually are perpetual usage rights? Simply put, this essentially means that you're giving the brand access to use your content perpetually. And if you didn't know, perpetual means forever. That means there's no end date to when they can use your content. And it also means you're not going to continuously get paid every single month that the brand is using your content. Examples of what this could look like, maybe back in 2020, you made an ad for a brand and you get really famous, and then today they're going back to use that ad. You're not making any more money, and maybe it's a brand that you don't even vibe with anymore. Guess what? You are still representing the brand. Perpetual is the main word here that you want to understand, but you'll very often see another word right next to it in your contracts called irrevocable or irrevocable. But I think irrevocable is the right way because that's how they say it in Twilight. And what this word means is that you cannot revoke access. You cannot take it back once you've given it to them. Can you imagine letting someone use your face to represent something and it's your face that you cannot tell them to stop using? I feel like that is a really scary situation. So why should you say no to perpetual usage rights? There's a few different points here. The first being, you can't fairly be paid for forever. Most creators, when they're charging for usage rights in general, are charging on a monthly basis. So I would ask, how many months are in forever? Obviously, we don't have the option of putting a number on this, and so there's no way for you to fairly get compensated for all of the months that the brand is going to be using the content. The other challenge is that even if you were to say, all right, I'm just going to charge them for 5 years, if you were to multiply your usage rate right by 5 years worth of months, it's still going to be such a large number that will be astronomical to most brands' budgets and probably won't get accepted. In any scenario, you're losing value and not being fairly compensated, and I personally see that as a problem for creators. The second point I want to make here, and potentially even more important than the money that you might be losing out on not being able to charge fairly, is actually the potential of losing out on future brand partnerships. Let's just say, for example, you do a partnership in 2025 with Adidas and everything goes well and you get a bunch of money and they pay for usage rights, etc. And basically they have that perpetual usage where you are not getting paid till forever. Now, say in 10 years, you end up taking your fitness content creator business to a huge level. And essentially, Nike wants to give you $5 million for a partnership. Now, because Nike and Adidas are direct competitors, and Adidas realistically could still be running that ad that they got back in 2025, remember, you're not being compensated anymore for it. You would very likely lose out on a Nike partnership because you're technically in partnership with Adidas. So you could be losing out on hundreds, thousands, who knows, millions of dollars, depending on the level of partnership that you're offered when you are in this perpetual usage with another brand. I even think of a really good example of this with Travis Kelce, who had the Pfizer vaccine he was doing a partnership with. I mean, realistically, no offense, Travis Kelce, but like most people didn't really super care about him unless they were into football. He starts dating Taylor Swift. They're using his ad everywhere now because we all care now, right? We see Travis and we're like, Taylor's boyfriend, that makes sense. And so we're paying more attention to the ad. If Travis had a perpetual usage right in his contract, he's probably not getting paid for using that content now that he's way more famous than he was before. You see what I mean? You see how this could be a problem? You're losing control and you're losing opportunities. Again, a huge problem for creators. And the third point that I want to make here, especially in light of the universe and our country in the United States in the last few years, is you are tied to that brand forever, and all of the things that they post and maybe things that they represent. It would really suck to be the one whose face is a part of a campaign for maybe a political view you don't agree with, or a human rights issue that you don't agree with, that the brand has a different view on. If perpetual irrevocable rights are in your contract, they can technically use your face and your content in any campaigns they want. Unfortunately, that might be something you don't agree with. I think a really good example of this is actually Target. We know that this year, with taking away DEI, Target went through a lot of issues and is still going through a lot of issues. And creators who maybe don't agree with that are still having their content used, and that kind of makes you look like you agree with it even if you don't. So this is something that is very frequently happening, especially in this political climate. So this is something that really solidifies my stance on not saying yes to perpetual usage. So how can you as a creator protect yourself? What exactly can you say to essentially make sure that you and your personal brand are staying safe when it comes to perpetual usage? First things first, I am constantly telling brands I do not offer perpetual usage, but I'm happy to offer you X duration of usage. So I will make sure there is a set end date with the option for them to renew it. If it's organic usage, you've maybe seen me talk about in previous videos that we usually don't charge for organic usage. So that's mostly a situation where I'm saying you can renew it for free. I just want the opportunity to say yes or no. For example, this might be something that you would say to a brand in that situation. Step 2, or second option, is making sure that the word irrevocable is at least out of there. Even if perpetual usage rights are in there, if the word irrevocable is not in there, you do still have access to revoke that usage right access that you've given the brand. So that is a really important point to remember. If you're in a situation where a brand sends you a contract and perpetual irrevocable usage rights are in that contract and you didn't agree to that, here's a little blurb, exactly word for word, of what you can say to that brand to be polite but also professional. I think it's really important for creators to always remember that this is a 50-50 partnership between you and the brand. You have the right to change things in the contract or not sign a contract that you don't agree with. You're the only one looking out for you, so it's important that you're always thinking about how you can protect yourself and not being afraid to stand up to a brand in a polite way that's asking you for something you're not comfortable with. If this feels overwhelming or confusing, I get it, but trust me, you do not have to do this alone. I want to tell you today about our exclusive private creator community called Soulcial, where you have over 150 other creators, as well as multiple coaches who are creators themselves, to help you get through all of these confusing situations. Inside Soulcial, you get the support, community, and education that you need literally whenever you need it in order to help you land more consistent long-term brand partnerships. Say you were in a situation like this where you didn't really know how to respond or what things in a contract meant, you can very easily post in our community forums or reach out to one of our coaches for one-on-one help, and we're gonna make sure that you get the answers that you need. In Soulcial, you have unlimited access to me when you need it, and I will always be there hand in hand to walk through all of these confusing situations with you. You can learn more about joining Soulcial down in the description, but before we end this video, I want to tell you exactly what I charge for brand partnerships because, like I said, we don't gatekeep here, and I'm here to support you and help you figure out this journey. One of my biggest issues with rates is that most of the time they are not considering anything other than your follower count when you're in these rate calculators that you find all over Google. So one of the things that I use is our fair pricing method, where we take in consideration things like your follower count, yes, but also how targeted your audience is, how engaged your audience is, and the reach of your profile. Using my fair pricing method, I charge about $2,000 for an Instagram reel reel and about $1,000 for a TikTok video. If you're curious how I calculated these rates, down in the description you can get our free worksheet that actually will walk you through step by step exactly how you can figure out what you could be charging for Instagram and TikTok brand partnerships. So remember, perpetual usage rates are a shot in the foot for content creators, and we are not saying yes to them under any circumstance. I'll see you guys next week.